We've spent decades listening to the stars. From golden records launched into deep space to powerful radio telescopes scanning the sky, humanity has never stopped asking a question that seems almost too obvious. Is anyone else out there? We live in a galaxy with over 200 billion stars, most of which are surrounded by planets. Some of those planets are remarkably Earth-like, with water, stable atmospheres, and ages even older than our own world. With all that potential, life shouldn't be rare. In fact, life should be everywhere, and yet, we hear nothing. No signals, no strange lights, no visitors, just silence. A silence so vast, so absolute, that it becomes more than a mystery. It becomes a warning. Because if life is supposed to be common, why does it feel like we're completely alone? This is what we call the Fermi Paradox, a question that's haunted astronomers, physicists, and dreamers for decades. And the possible answers? Some are full of wonder, others are much darker than we'd like to believe. Hello and welcome. I'm Orion, coming to you from Infinite Universe NTH. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of space and time, make sure to subscribe and join us on this journey through the unknown. Because today, we're going to explore not just the silence of the stars, but what it might mean. And why, just maybe, we were never supposed to hear anything at all. The story begins in 1950, during an ordinary lunch at Los Alamos National Laboratory. A group of physicists were chatting casually about UFOs and space travel, light conversation really, when one of them suddenly paused. It was Enrico Fermi, the brilliant Italian physicist. And he asked just 4 words that would echo across decades of science. Where is everybody? It was a simple question, but a devastating one. By then, we already knew how vast the universe was. We had a rough idea of how many stars and galaxies existed, and if even a tiny fraction of planets hosted life, intelligent life, then we should have seen something by now. A signal, a probe, a ship, anything. But there was nothing. And that silence, that absence, became the mystery. Fermi wasn't just wondering why aliens hadn't visited Earth. He was pointing out a contradiction. On one hand, the universe should be full of life. On the other hand, we have no evidence that anyone else exists. Both can't be true at the same time. This contradiction is what we now call the Fermi Paradox. And over the years, it's only grown more troubling. Because with each telescope we launch, each planet we discover, each signal we scan and still find empty, the silence becomes harder to ignore. If the universe is teeming with possibilities, why haven't we found even one trace of another civilization? Maybe the better question is, what if there's a reason for the silence? Imagine the universe as a vast, ancient forest. Every star is a tree, every planet a leaf. Somewhere in that forest we exist, a small, fragile voice calling out into the dark, hoping someone will answer. But what if no one answers because everyone is hiding? That's the idea behind the dark forest hypothesis, one of the most chilling explanations for the Fermi Paradox. It doesn't say that aliens don't exist. In fact, it assumes the opposite. The universe might be full of intelligent life. But none of them are speaking, because speaking is dangerous. In a dark forest, no creature reveals its position unless it's absolutely sure it's safe. Every sound might attract a predator. Every light could give you away. So everyone hides. Everyone stays silent. And sometimes someone shoots first. Now imagine that on a cosmic scale. What if every advanced civilization out there knows that revealing themselves might get them destroyed? What if there's no galactic community, no peaceful federation, just a cold universe where the first to be noticed is the first to disappear? And what if we, with our radio signals, our deep space broadcasts, our Voyager records, have been shouting into that forest without realizing what's really out there? To some, this theory is pure science fiction. But to others, it's a warning. We don't know what's out there, and maybe we shouldn't be trying so hard to find out. What if the reason we haven't found anyone is because no one ever makes it this far? That's the terrifying idea behind the Great Filter, a concept that suggests there's a kind of invisible wall in the evolution of life. A step so hard to overcome, so unlikely to succeed, that almost no civilization ever gets past it. Think of it like this. The universe has had billions of years and trillions of planets to work with. If intelligent life is supposed to be common, then something must be stopping it from spreading. Something must be filtering it out. So what is this filter? It could be at the very beginning. Maybe the jump from simple molecules to living cells is far rarer than we think. Or maybe the real challenge is turning multicellular life into intelligent life. That would mean we're already one of the rarest miracles in the universe. A reason to celebrate. But there's a darker possibility. What if the Great Filter is still ahead of us? What if civilizations reach our level and then destroy themselves? Nuclear war, runaway climate change, artificial intelligence we can't control, technology so powerful they erase their own creators. Maybe that's the pattern. Maybe every species reaches a certain point and then vanishes. No galaxy-spanning empires, no ancient messages from the stars, just silence, over and over again. If that's true, then the silence of the universe isn't just a mystery, it's a countdown. And the question we really need to ask isn't, where are they? It's, how long do we have? Maybe the silence doesn't mean we're alone. Maybe it just means we're blind. We often imagine aliens as creatures not so different from us. 2 arms, 2 eyes, some sort of language, maybe even ships and technology we could recognize. But what if reality is nothing like that? Imagine a colony of ants trying to understand a smartphone. To them, it's just a strange piece of plastic. They can't comprehend what it does, or even that it was made by something intelligent. What if we are the ants? What if alien civilizations are so advanced, so far beyond us, that we wouldn't even know what we're looking at? They might not use radio waves. They might not travel in ships. They might not be made of matter like we are. They could be forms of intelligence that exist purely as energy, or communicate through dimensions we can't perceive, or live on timescales so vast that one of their seconds lasts 1,000 of our years. In that case, the problem isn't that they're hiding, it's that we have no idea what to look for. We might be surrounded by signs, signals, structures, even visitors, and not recognize a single one. Like staring at alien graffiti on the wall and thinking it's just a crack in the paint. The Fermi Paradox may not be a silence. It may be a language we were never meant to understand. And that idea, that we're not alone, but simply too small, too early, or too primitive to notice, might be even more humbling than being truly alone. The universe is unimaginably old. It existed for over 9 billion years before Earth was even formed. During that vast stretch of time, countless stars were born and died, and entire planetary systems came and went. If intelligent life could emerge, it had more than enough time to do so long before humans ever opened their eyes to the stars. In that sense, we might be latecomers to a party that already ended. Advanced civilizations could have appeared billions of years ago, risen to incredible heights, and then vanished, wiped out by war, natural disaster, or their own creations. Their cities may have crumbled into dust, their signals faded into the background noise of the cosmos, and their presence lost to time. If they ever left behind monuments or machines, they might now be buried under alien landscapes or drifting as forgotten relics in interstellar space. From our point of view, it would be as if they had never existed at all. But there's another possibility, that we are early. Maybe intelligent life is extremely rare, and we're among the first to reach this level of awareness. The galaxy might be full of planets still in their infancy, waiting for life to begin, or just beginning to evolve simple organisms. If that's the case, then the silence isn't because others have disappeared, but because they simply haven't arrived yet. We are the first voices in a quiet room, the first eyes looking outward, the first minds to wonder whether they're truly alone. Being early means there's no one to warn us, no blueprint to follow, no signposts marking the safe paths forward. And being late means we may only be standing among ruins we can't even recognize. Either way, the silence carries meaning. Whether it's the quiet before something begins or the echo after something ends, we are caught in between, listening, searching, waiting. Perhaps we are not alone. Perhaps we are simply being watched. There is a theory, strange at first, yet haunting in its simplicity, that suggests we are not overlooked nor forgotten, but deliberately left undisturbed. Like animals in a reserve or a fragile tribe, untouched by the modern world, we may be living under quiet observation. The universe in this view is not empty, but aware. They see us. They've seen our first sparks of fire, our first steps beyond the atmosphere, our trembling radio waves reaching into space. And yet, they do not speak. Not because they can't, but because they choose not to. Civilizations far older, wiser, more powerful than ours may exist in the shadows of the stars, but they do not interfere. To them, we might be children, still growing, still breaking things we don't understand, still learning how to walk without falling. And in their silence, there is intent, a kind of cosmic patience, or perhaps a quiet warning. We build telescopes to find them. We send signals into the dark, hoping for a reply. But if they are out there, they may see those messages the way a zookeeper sees a bird singing in its cage. Beautiful, but not ready to be released. There is a strange loneliness in this idea. Not the loneliness of being truly alone, but the loneliness of knowing someone is watching and choosing not to answer. A silence not born of absence, but of judgment. And if this theory is true, then perhaps the question is not why we haven't found them, but why they haven't found us worthy. There's a thought, strange yet impossible to ignore, that everything we know may not be real. The stars above us, the ground beneath us, even our memories and emotions could be nothing more than code. According to this theory, we are living inside a simulation. Not a metaphor, not a dream, but an actual artificial world, crafted by beings beyond our understanding. The sky isn't a sky, It's a ceiling painted by algorithms. The universe isn't endless. It's a set of rules, programmed to feel that way. We see patterns in physics, numbers that repeat, constants that never change. We find equations that fit too perfectly, as if the universe was designed not just to exist, but to be solvable. We build computers that simulate weather, cities, even human behavior. And with every simulation we create, the question comes back to us, more quietly, more seriously. What if someone else already did the same to us? In a simulation, there's no need for aliens to come visit. They may simply be watching from outside, running tests, observing choices, collecting outcomes. Perhaps the universe feels silent not because no one is out there, but because we are inside something that was never meant to be answered. There is no need to travel between the stars if all the stars are part of a system you already control. No need to send signals when the entire universe is your screen. And if the creators are out there, we wouldn't hear them. Not because they're hiding, but because we are still inside the program. It's a story that bends the borders of reality. But what makes it unsettling isn't how unlikely it is. It's how much it would explain. There is a theory, whispered through ancient texts, echoed in modern sightings, and feared in silence, that we are not waiting for contact, because contact has already happened. According to this idea, aliens have not only discovered us, they are already here. Not in grand ships landing on the White House lawn, not in blazing lights or open greetings, but in shadows, in patterns we can't decode, in visits that leave no trace or too many questions. They arrived long ago, perhaps even before we wrote our first words on stone or lit our first fires beneath the stars. And since then, they've been watching. This is the "they're already here" hypothesis, a chilling suggestion that Earth is not isolated, but observed, quietly, carefully, constantly. Our planet may be a subject of study, a controlled environment, or even a shared space. Throughout history, stories have emerged of beings descending from the sky, teaching, guiding, then vanishing. Strange figures in ancient carvings, flying objects described in medieval manuscripts, lights that moved against the wind, craft with no wings or sound, seen by pilots who swear they weren't imagining. Today, the sightings continue. Videos, radar data, eyewitness reports from trained military personnel. Investigations once buried in secrecy are now released by governments, admitted in hearings, discussed in public. Still, no one speaks clearly. No confirmation, no denial. Just silence and more questions. If this theory is true, then the search for aliens is not a quest to find the unknown, but to recognize what is already among us, watching, waiting, deciding, not because they fear us, but because they know something we do not. We've always looked to the stars and wondered who might be out there. But what if the real mystery isn't out there at all? What if it's us? There's a theory, strange, yet not easily dismissed, that suggests humanity itself did not begin here. That we are not native to Earth but visitors, survivors, the last remnants of a people who came from somewhere else. Some versions say we fled a dying world, carrying seeds of knowledge and DNA across the stars. Others imagine our ancestors as explorers, castaways, or even exiles, sent to this blue planet long before we could record the reason why. Time buried the truth. Memory turned to myth. And now, we look around and believe we belong. But Earth is not a perfect fit. Our backs ache under the sun. We're strangely prone to disease. We suffer from allergies, chronic stress, and an endless curiosity that pulls us beyond the limits of this world. No other species changes the planet as quickly or questions its place so relentlessly. The theory gains weight from an older idea, panspermia, the possibility that life began elsewhere and was carried here by comet, meteor, or something far more intentional. If microbes could survive a journey across space, could minds? And if we did come from the stars, where did we come from? What happened to that world? Did it perish in fire or collapse under its own ambition? Are we its last breath or its second chance? We speak of aliens as something other, but perhaps we are the other, the strange ones, the anomaly, not because we found Earth, but because Earth was never really ours to begin with. After all the questions, all the searching, maybe the reason we haven't found anyone else is not because they're hiding, but because they were never there. There's a theory called the rare Earth hypothesis. It says that life like ours, intelligent, conscious, complex, might be far more unusual than we think, maybe even close to impossible. Think about what it took to get here, a planet just the right distance from its star, not too hot, not too cold, a stable climate for billions of years, a magnetic field to protect from radiation, a moon to keep our planet steady, water, air, just the right mix of chemicals. Then, lightning, time, chance, single cells, then multicellular life, then intelligence. One tiny misstep, and none of it happens. Even on Earth, it took nearly 4 billion years for intelligent life to appear. And for most of that time, our planet was home to bacteria and moss. Not cities, not minds. Maybe Earth isn't typical. Maybe it's a cosmic miracle, a 1 in a billion shot that somehow worked. If that's true, then the silence isn't strange. It's expected. We may not be surrounded by life because life is just that rare, and that makes everything different. It means we are not just listeners in the dark. We are the voice. We are not waiting to be discovered. We are what the universe has produced, the only eyes it has, looking back at itself. And if we really are the only ones, then life isn't just rare. It's sacred, and it's up to us to protect it. We've searched the silence. We've explored the theories, the frightening, the beautiful, the strange. And still, the question remains, where is everyone? But maybe there's a bigger question waiting in the dark. What if we're not alone? Not in storybooks, not in dreams, but for real. What if tomorrow a signal is received? What if a ship descends, not in fiction, but in daylight? What if we meet eyes that did not evolve on Earth? That moment would be the greatest turning point in human history, but it would also be a mirror, because the real question wouldn't be who they are. It would be, who are we? Will we respond with fear or with curiosity? Will we judge or will we listen? Will we try to control or to connect? For generations, we've imagined first contact as a test of technology, but maybe it's really a test of character. Are we ready to meet the unknown with open minds? Are we wise enough to share a universe? We may still be far from that day, but it's coming, perhaps sooner than we think. And when it does, let us be ready not just to discover something out there, but to discover something within ourselves. Because how we meet the other will define who we truly are. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I'm Orion, and this is Infinite Universe NTH. If this journey made you think, feel, or simply wonder, please consider subscribing to support the channel. There are more questions waiting, and together, we'll keep searching.